Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for yet more dedicated legacy action. Today I'm actually going to be playing initiative cards for the first time since they've become available, but we're not going to do things normally like the mono white initiative players. We're going to be doing mono black initiative, but it's not really a full-on initiative deck. It's the sort of latest incarnation of the classic Leyline, Dauthi Voidwalker, Helm of Obedience combo deck. So, what is this deck trying to do? Well, before the initiative came along, the main plan was to play a Dauthi Voidwalker or have a Leyline in the Void in play, and then activate Helm of Obedience targeting your opponent, which mills out their entire library, exiling it all. So you can get around things like Emrakul as well. And this is just like a 2-card combo that wins you the game. Now, to facilitate this, we had a bunch of fast mana in the form of Ancient Tombs and Dark Rituals. And then we also had this Karn the Great Creator package to help find us additional Helm of Obedience in the sideboard, as well as just win the game on its own. Now, this deck also ran things like Sheoldred and tried a bunch of other things like Urza's Saga and ways of winning the game that way. Now, because the initiative is such a powerful mechanic that's now out, this list is trying to incorporate that into it. So we've got all this mana anyway, and all the black initiative cards are 4 mana. The best one I think is probably the one that isn't even online at the moment, which is a 4 mana 3/4. But anyway, so with all this fast mana and like, you know, our Soul Lands, our Chrome Moxes and things like that, it makes sense that we're going to include these initiative cards. So what ones are we playing? So this is a 4 mana 2/2 lifelink. It gives you initiative when it comes into play, and then it gets bigger every turn you have the initiative. Pretty straightforward. It's got lifelink as well, so it can offset our Ancient Tomb activations, so I quite like this. Also offsets our Thoughtseizes. Then we have Vicious Battlerager, which is just a 4 mana 1/5, comes into play, take the initiative, and basically whenever it gets blocked, your opponent loses 5 life. So it's not really a great one to block, but it's not really a great one to attack with either, because it's only a 1/5. Obviously, you can stick counters on it when you go through the dungeon, but it's not an amazing attacker, but it does give you the initiative, and it holds it quite well, which feels like what this deck really wants to do. So you're going to be ticking up with the initiative, whilst also threatening combo kills. Now, the reason why I think... So this deck was quite good, because the mono black shell is very strong against Delver, but it's not great against all the initiative stuff. So we're fixing that by playing our own initiative plan. So we can take the initiative for free with these guys, basically, and they're not too shabby at holding it either. We also have the fact that we have a lot of cards that are just good against combo decks. And now, because Control, which is one of the worst matchups really for these mono black decks, because Control is on the downturn at the moment because of initiative and things, it means some of our cards that are really good against combo, like a Karn the Great Creator, when you accelerate it out, it's going to shut down all like Lion's Eye Diamonds and Lotus Petals and all sorts of things. Grindstones, for example, because Paint is one of the best decks at the moment, so it can shut down a whole bunch of things. We also have this Opposition Agent, which can shut down things like Urza's Sagas and Personal Tutors and things like that, which is another thing we can ramp out. And we've also got a little bit of defense in the form of Thoughtseizes and Hymn to Tourach. And let's not also forget just the fact that Leyline in the Void and Dauthi Voidwalker both hose really, really fast combo decks that use the graveyard. For example, Utsul Spells and Reanimator. So we kind of have a lot of our bases covered. And as long as we dodge control decks, I think we should be alright. Now, I'm not sure how good we're going to be against the initiative, but combo tends to be pretty good against the initiative as a general rule. So we have this combo that we can sit on. And we also have this Dauthi Voidwalker that can go and get us the initiative back whenever we need it, because it can't be blocked. Now, we also can steal the initiative back and sit on it with these guys. So the plan is probably going to be against the initiative to slap down these guys to steal the initiative back without having to attack, or maybe attacking with the Voidwalk and then turning up like this. Also means we can get the initiative back from behind the Ensnaring Bridge on our sideboard if we need to, with the Karn, and just keep doing that until we can combo our opponent. Now, we can just always go and get ourselves a Mycosynth Lattice and then just win the game that way by shutting our opponent's things down. So we've got a decent selection of options of how this deck transpires. Now, obviously, our curve is quite high, but we have a lot of fast mana to facilitate that, so I think it should be pretty good. A quick talk about the sideboard. A couple of Sudden Edicts. Pretty standard. Blow up some creatures. Things like Delver and things when you don't have to play around days. You can just say it's going to be gone. Tourach. It's got pro-white, so that's probably going to come in quite handy against a format that is rather white-heavy at the moment. And there's a bit more discard, so we can play... If we do find control players, we can hit their hand and deal with them that way. And they can't be ploughing this or anything like that. A couple of Plague Engineers, because Combo Elves is on the rise at the moment. A Vault of Whispers, this is just to find with the Karn if we need a mana source. Pithing Needle is another Karn target. Stonebrain is a Karn target that you can keep rebuying with your Karn when you exile it. So you can kind of strip away some win conditions from a combo opponent. Liquimetal Coating, again, just another great Karn target that can shut a game out. And then we've already mentioned these ones. The other card here is Nemesis Trap. So this is a weird one. So it says, if a white creature is attacking, you may pay black rather than the spell's cost. So what this does is it exiles target attacking creature, create a token of that creature for yourself, and then exile that at the beginning of the next end step. So what this does is it'll kill a attacking white creature, basically any of the initiative guys, give you a copy of it to steal the initiative back. So this seems like a pretty good 2-for-1 in terms of, basically gaining the initiative is almost like drawing a card. So this is kind of like a 2-for-1. You get to kill their thing and you get something yourself. If they're attacking with 2 creatures, you can kill one, get another one to block with. So this should be pretty good. It kind of shows the levels that people are going to try and beat the white initiative decks. I've also seen people playing Gloom, which we might end up playing on a channel at some point too. So I've rambled on quite a long time about this because there's a lot of different components and how this all works. But I think we should just jump into a league and see how we do. But before we do that, it's the obligatory plug of my channel. Like, comment, subscribe. These things help me out. I need to hit 1,000 subscribers at some point, so please add your name to my list of subscribers. It doesn't cost you anything and it really helps me out. Okay, let's jump into a league with Monoblack Helm Combo Initiative. We'll think of a pithy name at some point, I'm sure. All right, let's see how we go. So this is our opening hand. We've been dealt. We're on the draw. We have a lot of fast mana here, but we don't really have anywhere to go with it. The Helm only does so much on its own. I don't think Thoughtseize is good enough protection either. I think we should just mulligan and see how we do. So what does this hand do? It's fine. I'm not in love with it, but I think it might be okay. So we'll keep it. We have to put one of these cards back. I think we're putting back the Urborg. This does mean that we get to make the turn 1 Passageway Seer. So let's play this one out. Put the Leyline under this. Play this one. Put the Agadeem's Awakening under it. Play this one out. We're a little bit all on this, but our opponent showed us a mountain, so I'm not expecting too much in the way of counter spells from a basic mountain start. Now they could lightning bolt this, but we will get the passageway. We will get the initiative first, which will give us a swamp in case we need that for later. So this is going to be a lightning bolt straight up, sure. But we will get the initiative here, and we'll be able to scry with it for next turn. So let's take a swamp in our hand, and then we have a Thoughtseize next turn. Now we could have played the Thoughtseize out first and tried to ride the Passageway Seer. But I think just having the initiative ticking up is too strong. Turn 1 initiative is a lot. We also have a lot of mana to go. I'm quite glad that we didn't put the Leyline into play, to be honest. Okay, there's a saga. So my opponent is representing a Painter's Servant deck right now. My opponent is definitely representing a Painter's Servant deck. Sure, and a Welder. So we will scry this time. So that is the Lost Well. Let's have a little scry. So put this on the bottom. Put this on the bottom. We do not want either of those. Karn, the Great Creator. This seems like a pretty good one. I think we get to Thoughtseize first here. I think that's the safest play. And then we will lose our City of Traitors if we play the Karn here, but I think that's fine. A Red Blast and a Mox Opal. So we'll take the Red Blast. Leave our opponent with 2 cards that don't do anything. Tap this for 2. Make City of Traitors go away. Cast this with our 2 remaining sources. So what do we want to do here? Let's have a quick look at our sideboard. Always going to be our best solution to winning this game. We can probably just get the Liquimetal Coating here and start going because they're not going to be able to kill our... So I think we will minus this, go and get ourselves the Coating, and then next turn we'll just start removing all our opponent's permanents. So there's the mountain we know about. They do have the ability to make an Urza Saga token, and there's a Mox Opal we know about. So we could have gone and get the Ensnaring Bridge. That might have been a slightly safer line. So I think we go and get the Stash here. This gives us a treasure token. And we draw for 10. An Ancient Tomb. So, because they didn't attack with a Welder, we can go and get our Ensnaring Bridge now. And play this out. Play this out. So we've got a Bridge we can hide behind. And we've got a Liquimetal Coating we can play out as well. Sure. Now they can go and get a Pithing Needle off of their Urza Saga here. So if we turn the mountain into an artifact, we won't be able to activate this turn. They're probably just going to put it into the Saga anyway. This kind of narrows their options of things they can do anyway. Okay, they didn't activate their Saga in response, which is interesting. Because that would mean if they get Painter and Red Blast, they can just blow up our Karn, blow up our Ensnaring Bridge. But I guess they can just blow up our Karn and kill us with the Grindstone anyway. So, okay, they're just going for the mana here. Okay, Soul Guide Lantern. So this is a redraw for our opponent, essentially. So they don't have the Pithing Needle main deck. Getting rid of our Passageway Seer. They can't attack. A Goblin Engineer. So this is going to tutor for something into their graveyard. A Phyrexian Dragon Engine. So this is going to be a way of them drawing lots more cards. This time we get a 4-1 Skellington. Sure. A Vicious Battlerager. So this will put us straight into Throne of the Dead 3. Not opposed to. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this will get us another creature into play. Okay, it's just a Battlerager. Not that exciting. We haven't played a land yet, so we will take our free swamp here. Play our swamp out here. So we don't really have a choice of using the welder to hit the welder and then get stuff back that way. So what we're going to be doing is just removing our opponent's permanents. Now our opponent can welder this one out if they want to. Okay, they did not want to do that. Okay, so now we can just sort of sit back and build our way to Mycosynth Lattice, I suppose. In a couple of turns, I think we're in quite a good spot. Our opponent has noticed that they could have attacked with the welder and put our Karn to 2, so it would have died. So we kind of benefit quite a lot from our opponent's misplay there. Now we're going back into the Undercity. We can either hit our opponent for 5 or we can keep scrying. I think scrying is better for us because we're under our own snaring bridge as well. So let's see what we find. City of Traitors is a pretty good... sorry, not City of Traitors. An opposition agent is a pretty good one. So we'll put the City of Traitors on the bottom and we'll leave this one on top. Draw it. This stops a lot of shenanigans from our opponent. So I'd rather hit my opponent's red sources at the moment than this Urza Saga. We can always hit that next turn. So we'll turn this mountain into an artifact. They're floating red. So they're going to use it into the Goblin Engineer here. And this will get them the Phyrexian Dragon Engine back. Okay, they're weldering it. So they're keeping their red mana up as well. So if you're not unfamiliar with this card, when it comes in from the graveyard, you discard your hand and draw 3. So a lot of the time it's just a draw 3. So it's pretty strong. A Lightning Bolt on our Karn the Great Creator. That's a little bit annoying. So that gives them a whole bunch of their bits and pieces back. So we can either try and hold the opposition agent as like a thing we can flash in as a trick, or we can play it now to stop our opponent from tutoring. But most of their tutoring stuff is going to be sorcery speed, things like other Goblin Engineers. So I think we're better off trying to hold this. Okay, they're just sacking that to draw a card. That's fine. Oops, so Saga's ticking up. And a Lotus Petal from our opponent. They can now use because there's no Karn in play. So this is good. So they're going to play this, put this ability on the stack, and we will flash this guy in. Now they can Lightning Bolt this if they have a Lightning Bolt. They've already used 2 bolts this game, and usually they tend to play 2 to 3 depending on how many Furies they have in the deck. So I doubt they're going to actually do the search because it's a May. So probably just going to let it slide. Sure. So this stops our opponent from getting the Painted Servant anytime soon. Now we do need to win the game, which is a little bit difficult without the Karn in play, which is also stopping them from being able to grind us out. So we're going to need some draws here. So it's going to be Stash, or I think it should just be Stash here. This gives us plenty of mana to work with. Not that we've... Mana is certainly not the problem right now, but... See, another opposition agent. Okay, so I guess we're going to do similar things to last time. We can just start sniping our opponent's things down with this now. So if we get rid of the Mox Opal... No, wait, no, what am I talking about? Doesn't do anything. Ignore me. So they're going to keep rebuying this Soul Guide Lantern because it's just going to keep giving them extra draws. And they're going to keep swapping it with the... They're swapping another artifact with the Phyrexian engine. So our opponent is going to find Painted Servant sooner or later. So here comes the engine again. Try to put the old Leyline into play. That might have been... At the start, might have been better rather than saving it for the Chrome Mox. I think blind Thoughtseize is going to be better a lot of the time. Okay, so we get ourselves a Grindstone. So we can play this Grindstone out now, and if our opponent ever gets Painter, we can grind them. The only issue is they get to grind us first, so that's less than ideal. Fury. Let's see what this hits. Okay, so I want to kill our opposition agent and our skeleton. That seems fine to me. We've got a backup opposition agent we can deploy in a second. I suspect they're not going to attack with these 1/2s. Rather than trying to catch our opponent out, I'm just going to deploy this now and a turn. So we'll carry on with initiative. We get a skeleton. Not that we're attacking with it. We're in a weird spot here for sure. Let's play this one out. Now we can mill our opponent here with this, but this is very bad because they have these things to bring things back from the graveyard. So what we need to do really is draw something that does something. Another Karn would be excellent. We can attack with this guy, I suppose, but they can trade this guy off. And they take 5. It's not really worth it. I think it's just better to keep it back in case we ever lose the bridge. I think we're winning this one by combat damage. We just need to find ourselves another Karn. I think if we can get another Karn into play, then chance of winning this game is pretty high. Now our opponent's going to shuffle things in and out here. Sure, they can exile stuff. We don't really play with our graveyard, so it's not really a problem for us. Yeah. All they're doing is just digging for Painted Servant here. So we get into Throne of the Dead 3 next turn, but We don't really have anything. Like, the Dauthi Voidwalker would be a good find, but that's about it. Favor the Mirror Breaker. That's a pretty good one. Again, it's just more ways for them to find the Painted Servant. It also gives them the mana to play and activate in the same turn, because they can't play and pass because I have my own Grindstone here. Alright, let's focus and draw something good. We're going into the Throne of the Dead 3. What are we going to find? Probably an initiative guy. Passageway Seer. Sure. So going back into the dungeon again, getting ourselves a swamp. And then we're drawing something good, like a Karn maybe? That's what I would like to do. A Thoughtseize. Again, we still can't attack with any of our guys right now. I think it's worth doing the Thoughtseize here. If they have a painter, we're not really in a situation where it's very helpful. Okay, so they're pitching a Sim in Spirit Guide, which means they probably have land Spirit Guide right now. So they're bringing back the Soul Guide Lantern. If we'd have played the Leyline and just had the Thoughtseize, better off really. Such are the decisions we make. I think we'll keep the swamp in hand for now. So this is going to get quite big, but it's not really something we can attack with. What we can do is we can animate our Ensnaring Bridge and start attacking with that and seeing if they want to kill it or they want to chump block it, whatever. But I'm pretty sure we've lost this game. It's a case of whether them drawing like 4 cards a turn is going to find them painted before our drawing 1 card a turn finds us a Karn. They can't tutor for it at least. So they now have enough mana that they can play Painter and activate in the same turn. A Fury. I don't really care about the Fury. I suppose it does kill our opposition agent, but that's not really... Okay, so this means that when the Favor of the Mirror Breaker flips, they can copy the Goblin Engineer and go and find the Painter and put it into play. But you have to imagine they're going to find it soon. They've gone through most of their deck now. Right, let's have a good scry, please. Lost well. The Dauthi Voidwalker is interesting, but I think at this stage we need a Karn. They've used 2 Furies, and Fury can hit Planeswalkers. So I think we just have to bottom both of these and look for... So the one thing the Dauthi Voidwalker does do, actually, is it stops them from tutoring with the Goblin Engineer. I think we can keep this. So I think we can play this one out, and then we can attack after we've drawn a card, then and then play the card, so we can constantly attack with this. So we have a way of dealing our opponent some damage now. Okay. The opponent's doing a final bit of weldering around before the Dauthi Voidwalker shuts it off for a while. What we can do now as well is start grinding our opponent, because the cards are going to exile, and also it'll give us cards that we can cast, because we can sacrifice the Dauthi Voidwalker. This is a weird game, this one. So they're probably getting the Phyrexian Dragon engine back now. Yep, there it goes. So a lot of painted decks tend to have a 2-2 split with Bolts and Furies in the main. So that's not the worst for us. They might struggle to remove this Dauthi Voidwalker. Pass the turn. We can start grindstoning our opponent end of turn. Get some food for the Dauthi Voidwalker. If we find a Painted Servant off of it, we might be able to just kill our opponent. So this is going to start copying their guys soon. So the Fury will be able to blow up our Dauthi Voidwalker in the not too distant future. But it gives them another step they have to do before they can get the Painted Servant. And maybe we can spike it with a Grindstone Mill. Oh, not quite an intense game for my for the first game of the league. I'm trying to switch my brain on. So they have a Painted Servant in their graveyard there. So what they can do is they can bring this one back now. So they put it in there before the Dauthi Voidwalker entered play. So they can potentially kill us here. But we can Grindstone them in response, mill out their library, get a Red Blast, kill their guy. So we are okay on that front right now. I think they have to mill us out before we untap. Now, if our opponent's got Red Blast in hand as well, then we're in trouble, but... Okay, so everything is blue. So they're trying to Pyroblast our Grindstone. Interesting. So I think in response, we hit our opponent. So they've already got everything they need anyway. Oh, we've made a mistake here, haven't we? We're supposed to let our Grindstone die here. Oh no, because as soon as the Pyroblast... Yeah, as soon as the Pyroblast resolves... Okay, so they're going to see our whole deck here, aren't they? Does that matter to us? I don't think so. Our deck's pretty self-explanatory, I think. And there's no way we can do this. Yeah, we messed this turn up. What we should have done is just let the Grindstone die and then use the Pyroblast. And then use the Pyroblast to kill their Painter. The other option was trying to hit the Red Blast off of this. I think we're just dead here, right? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not happy with how I played that game. So what do we want to do here? Our Graveyard Hate looks pretty tasty. These Plague Engineers will be good against Welders, so I'd like to keep these in the mix. Karn is excellent in this matchup. I think the Sudden Edicts are fine. We're not spectacular. We're probably trimming on some of our like Battle Ragery type stuff. I think that's probably the weakest link. We could board in these Sudden Edicts just as ways of interrupting our opponent's creatures. I don't hate that, but they get a lot worse when our opponent has token producers, is the issue. But I think they're probably just going to be better than these Battle Rages, to be honest. These probably the Seers, probably a 2-2 split. I think that's probably okay. We'll submit like this. Yeah, I think I definitely punted that game a little bit there. All right, we're on the play this time. Let's see what happens. So we start with the Leyline in play. We can make a turn 1 Dauthi Voidwalker or a turn 2 Passageway Seer. We'll keep this and play this out. I think we'll just play the Agadeem's Awakening tapped. Okay, we need to play quickly with the clock. Okay, a mountain from our opponent into a welder. Sure. So I have choices here. I think just getting the Passageway Seer out is best because it gives us another land for next turn anyway. So we can just hardcast the opposition agent next turn. And if we can go down to the Throne Dead 3, we might be able to hit ourselves a Plague Engineer, which will, on Goblin, will do a lot of work. Obviously, these Goblins can't do anything under a Leyline, but I have to imagine our opponent's going to have answers for this. It's probably just going to be Blasts, Painter's Servant. Okay. They're Pyroblasting that guy. Interesting. Okay, so they're going to steal the initiative then. Not ideal for us. Got Chrome Mox here. I don't think we're going to be using that just yet. So we can either try and flash an opposition agent to pick something out or try and Sudden Edict. I think this opposition agent to try and catch them unawares is probably best. Like the Sudden Edict is just going to get rid of their Goblin Welder. They're probably not going to attack with the Painted 7 because they've already seen the opposition agents in game 1. Okay, so they're putting counters on that guy. Interesting. So what we can do is if they attack with both creatures, we can flash in an opposition agent end of turn. Alternatively, if they attack with both creatures, we can eat the Goblin Welder and then Sudden Edict. Okay, Sudden Edict is getting a lot worse now, which is one of the things I mentioned when I boarded it in. Let's see what happens here. Just that guy. Okay. So mana efficient and make this end of turn. We can also attack with it. I think we're playing out the city here first, and then playing out the Dauthi Voidwalker. In case anything goes to the graveyard, we can put it under the Dauthi Voidwalker. So if this guy attacks, it's probably going to trade with the Goblin Shaman token. If we Sudden Edict first, it'll be interesting to see what they sacrifice. So I think we do this and see what they sacrifice. They let me have a welder. It's not particularly great because of my Leyline. I can't just shuffle their things around in a way they don't like. Okay, so they got rid of that guy. Okay, so putting the welder under the bus to try and keep the initiative. Now, if our opponent just has a grindstone, we lose the game. And they're going to be looking at some more cards here. Okay, so they're going to... Are they goading there? Oh, they moved to trap. To deal less 5, sure. So they binned some lands. It's going to be a Fury. So because of the Leyline, I don't get to put the things under Dauthi Voidwalker whilst the Leyline's in play. Fiery Confluence. So we're going to take a load of damage and have our creatures blown up. Not great for us. And then we're just going to get bashed by the Painted Servant here. Alright, what do you got for us, deck? A land that doesn't do us any good if it's in play. So we're going to take 3 this turn. And then they're going to be able to kill us pretty swiftly from there. So this is a bit of a non-game, really. Our opponent's got some really good selection tools in favour of the Mirror Breaker and things. We got a little bit outclassed in terms of card quality here. And losing the initiative like we did. Okay, we're just dead. We just concede. We won the die roll, which is nice. So what does our hand do? Our hand makes a turn 1 opposition agent. And then kind of doesn't do very much after that. So I think we will keep. And we'll hold open the opposition agent for turn 1. But we can make the Passageway Seer on turn 2 after that. Is that going to be good enough is the question. Or should we mulligan? I think this is fine. Ideally, I'd like to make Passageway Seer on turn 2. So I'm just going to play out the basic Swamp and Pass. If our opponent gives us a really good opportunity to just get them with the opposition agent, then we'll do that. Opponent's playing Ancient Tomb into Chalice. Okay. So this kind of forces our hand, I think. Because we're not going to get to use this Dark Ritual otherwise. So we may as well get the opposition agent. So there's an early creature that can keep... Oh, Force of Will and Thought Cast. Okay, so we're playing against an 8-cast type deck. Interesting. So I guess we're just playing this tapped. Yeah, it definitely feels like an awkward start for us. We've kind of lost our ideal plays there. But we got a 2 for 1 off of the... Well, it wasn't 2 for 2. It was a 2 for... It wasn't 2 for 1, sorry. It was a 2 for 2 off of Dark Ritual Opposition Agent. But one of those cards was getting shut down by the Chalice. So if we don't draw any 1-drops, it will be a 2 for 3 in the long run. But right, opponent's probably playing Psy here. Yep, it's going to be quite a good card here. It's going to generate them a lot of guys. This is going to be very easy for them to get the initiative back off of us if we ever get it. So it doesn't look like a game where initiative's going to be very good. So we can make a Passageway Seer now. I don't think we have a better choice, unfortunately. We can either do this or we can make the Leyline and try and spike the Helm. I think if we make the Passageway Seer, all that's going to happen is we're going to draw one basic, and then our opponent is going to steal the initiative with a Thops token, and they're just going to have Thops tokens for days, and we're never going to be able to get the initiative back, and then they're just going to win with it. So I think we're supposed to put the Passageway Seer under the Chrome Mox here and just try and spike the Helm. It's a bit ugly, but I think it's our best way of trying to win the game. So they're doing that so they can get a free tick with the Emery, so that the Emery can at least have one bauble if they play an Emery. Right, so if we draw the Helm of Obedience, we win because we can have 4 mana, play the Urborg, and go again. Now our opponent's going to draw a bunch of cards probably this turn, and we're going to have to try and feel our way through a Force of Will. And we can't check the hand with a Thoughtseize if we draw one because we can't cast 1-drops. And Urza Saga's going to massively increase their clock, so they can probably kill us in about 3 turns. So we have 2 to 3 draw steps left, I think. This is a Kappa Cannoneer. There's Chalice of the Void for 2. We don't actually care about that. That's not how we're planning on winning this game. Okay, our opponent doesn't have any cards in hands though, which is good for us. It means no counter spell, so we just need to draw the thing to win the game. A Karn can do it as well. And Agadeem's Awakening. What does this actually do for us? We can't get a creature back with it. That costs 6 mana. So I think we just play this as a land. And it makes potential future Agadeem's Awakenings playable. And it means we don't have to lose a land to play and activate our Helm. I don't think we have to worry about anything like a Daze. So our opponent's going to be making an Urza Saga token this turn, which is going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, so we're going to be dead. We got one more draw step, I believe. And the Urza Saga's probably going to go and get a Pithing Needle for Helm of Obedience because we have a Leyline in play. So we have one draw step. Let's see what we can do with it. I don't think the Karn's going to be good enough if it's the Karn. But if it's the Helm, we might be alright. I should hope we are. Okay, so we just have nothing here. So this is going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we're just dead on board. We can save our time and concede that game. Okay, 8 cast. Do you want to do anything differently here? Plague Engineer on Thopter is going to be useful. I don't think Sudden Edicts are okay if they're just like all in on an early Kappa. But it's so bad against Thopters. We kind of end up in a situation like we did against the Painter deck. So we're probably just going to be boarding in these and probably cutting some of these. What's going to be better here, the Passageway Seer or the Vicious Battlerager? Battlerager can block quite effectively. Maybe it's just 1 and 1. It doesn't feel very decisive though, does it? It feels like it should probably be one or the other. The Karn is going to be good here. I think the Battlerager is going to be better than the Passageway Seer. It can block better, and if it attacks and is chump blocked, they're going to sort of have a choice of taking 3 from it or chump block it and taking 5. So that's probably slightly better, but not great still. Yeah, these black cards are a lot worse than the white initiative cards. What does this hand do? This hand is very slow. I think we have to mulligan this one. We're not doing anything till turn 3 on that one. Okay, this hand, I think this hand is okay. I think we can keep this with Leyline and him to Tourach. And we're probably getting rid of one of our swamps. And we're going to turn 1 him to Tourach, our opponent. Play this one out. And this gives us the ability to draw into Helm of Obedience and kill them relatively quickly. Let's see what we hit. A Force of Will, that's pretty good. An Underground Sea. Oh, interesting to see the Underground Sea there. They're probably splashing for... They're probably just using that instead of an island for the purpose of Dismember, maybe. But they must have a basic if they're in the initiative meta. Sure. So you can play that for 1. I don't really care. We've played our 1-drop. It does shut off our Thoughtseizes if we draw them, but I don't really mind. As long as our opponent's not playing threats, I think I'm happy. Now, we could play the City of Traitors now, or we could hold it. It doesn't really matter either way, I don't think. So I think we just want to hold this right now. Because if we draw another land next turn, we just play that first, and then we can have our 5 mana available without having to lose lands. Okay, our opponent's got a redraw from an Urza's Bauble. Still no pressure, though. That's what we want to see. Helm of Obedience. Our opponent's got 2 cards in hand. I think we just go for it here. And say, do you have the Force of Will or not? They can't hard cast a Force of Negation. Okay, so they've got a Force of Negation there. Alright, so we're now looking for a Karn or one of the other 2 Helm of Obediences. So we've got 6 draws that pretty much win us the game. Like, a Karn is super lights out against our opponent. Or that can change if they play like just a Kappa Cannoneer or something. But if they're just playing like these artifacts they need to keep activating, then we're in a good spot. Agadeem's Awakening. If we play this, we lose our City of Traitors, but we can hold it and put it inside a Chrome Mox. So that's going to be what we're planning to do. So we're just going to keep it in hand so our opponent's thinking about the resource we have in play rather than spilling it all out on the table when our opponent is a Hercule's Recall deck. Seat of the Synod. So now they have blue available. Still no threat though. So that's good. Another Chrome Mox. So now we're seeing the real danger of playing these sorts of decks where you don't have a way of filtering your draws or digging into your deck that well. You're just kind of at the mercy of the top of your deck. Okay, it's going to be a Psy. A Thought Monitor, that's worse for us because that's going to dig them into more action. Don't get it wrong, Psy would have been pretty bad there as well. But there we go. What have you got for us? Top of the deck? A Swamp. So again, we're in the same place we were before. Just have to pass. We need to draw a spell that does something. There's the Psy. So our opponent's going to have quite a lot of things in play in the near future. It's going to make a Kappa Cannoneer very easy to cast if they find one. Karn the Great Creator. So our opponent now has 4 cards in hand. Right, so we're going to play this Chrome Mox out. We're going to imprint this Agadeem's Awakening. And we're going to try for the Karn. So we can destroy their Chalice if we want to. That seems alright to me. We can go and get a 2-drop. That doesn't really do anything. We can shut down this. 1, 2, 3... Yeah, so I think what we're doing here is destroying the Chalice, and we're not going to play out the land here, and then we'll see what our opponent does on their next turn. They can put Karn to 3, or we can just permanently destroy their Seat of the Synod. They're just going to play another Chalice. Sure. So this gives them a side token and another artifact that we have to churn through and gives them more Metalcraft and affinity, etc., etc. So these are both coming at the Karn, as expected. So this might be the turn we empty our hand out for an Ensnaring Bridge, but if our opponent's sitting on a counter spell, it's going to feel real bad. So let's see what we draw. So we can try and go for the combo here. Like, our opponent didn't counter the Karn, which you have to imagine is on your list of things to counter. I think getting the... If we get the Ensnaring Bridge, they can still kill the Karn, so I think we're probably just minusing the Karn for Helm of Obedience here. Right, let's get the one from exile. 1, 2, 3, 4. Did you draw another Force of Will effect? You did not. You're going to mill your whole deck and let me see what you sideboarded? Okay, they're not going to let us see their deck. Okay, so that was alright. We did brick for a few turns, but eventually we did draw the things we needed. Do we want something like a Tourach, just to attack our opponent's hand, to try and pave the way for the combo? I really don't think that the initiative is very good in this matchup. So I think I would probably rather just have the ability to discard some cards from our opponent's hand rather than have these Passageway Seers. We're very much on the combo plan here because Karn is going to be so useful as well. Go down on 1-drops, but they can always just go into the Chrome Mox, so I don't mind that. And if they don't have the Chalice, then these are pretty effective anyway. Like, it's not really our game plan so much. I think this is fine. We can't really keep this one. I have to mulligan this one. There's a lot to process in this hand. Got an answer for Thopters. We've got an early opposition agent, which is okay. But where are we going with this hand? I don't think we can mulligan to Karn either. I think we have to keep this. And it's a choice of whether we get rid of the Chrome Mox or the Dark Ritual. I think we'll get rid of the Chrome Mox here. Not a fan of this hand, but it's okay. We get to cast 3-drop into 3-drop. So kind of hoping our opponent has like a Psy hand, really. Okay. They're certainly casting a lot of spells this turn. Okay, so this shuts off of our Dark Ritual, which is one of the reasons we maybe should have kept the Chrome Mox to play around this. A Dauthi Voidwalker. That would have been a great one to start off with. Yeah, we should have kept a Chrome Mox instead of Dark Ritual. But there's a good learning experience there. So next time we get to make one of our 3-drops anyway. Okay, our opponent's hand doesn't really seem to be going anywhere. Probably means they have some disruption elements here. Then we're just going to play out this Dauthi Voidwalker first. This is kind of like bait a little bit. Okay. They're just stuck. Interesting. It is part of our combo if that's the thing we want to do with it. Okay, so they're just dismembering it. That's fine. Our opponent's really taking a control route in this game, which I don't really think they should be doing. I think they should be just beating us down a little bit with some disruption. Let's see what we draw here. So we can play out this Ancient Tomb and tap it for black and cast Opposition Agent in our opponent's turn. We don't necessarily know we want the Plague Engineer on Thopter yet. We'd rather let our opponent spend a load of resources making Psy tokens. The Opposition Agent also beats for more, so it's better to get down and attack with. Okay. The opponent's just chaining Mox Opals here. That's not the most impressive thing. Chalice of the Void for 2. Sure, so that's going to shut off our Dauthi Voidwalker. Black from this, and black from this. Karn the Great Creator. So that's a pretty good one here. So this one can attack. Let's see what they have, if anything. Let's see if this resolves. I'm going to pay 2 life for this. Because I can blow up the Chalice and then deploy my Plague Engineer in the same turn. Or I can blow up the Mox Opal. But the Mox Opal doesn't tap for anything right now. So I think we just blow up the Chalice here. Tap this for black. And cast this. We'll name Thopter. Okay, we're in a pretty good spot here. We can go get Mycosynth Lattice next turn. And if they didn't have a counter spell for Karn, then, yeah, I don't know. I think it's unlikely they have a counter spell this turn. Okay, so our opponent's conceded. So that one went a little bit better. I still think keeping the Chrome Mox would have been better than keeping the second Dark Ritual. But again, we worked through a Chalice relatively easily there anyway. So, all right, let's go on to round 3. This is a weird looking hand, actually. We're on the draw. We have Leyline into turn 1 opposition agent, or we can sandbag this and make a turn 2 Passageway Seer. I think we do keep this one, and we see what we draw to see how things... Our opponent's also got Grizzlepuff, and we have a Leyline of the Void in play, which isn't the worst. Mox Diamond. Okay, so this is looking like some sort of lands deck, perhaps? Okay, no, so they're just a initiative deck. Interesting. So because this basically has Vigilance, it's going to be very difficult for our opposition agents to do something here. We can use our opposition agent as a removal spell, but we'll need to try and get the initiative back another way. Like, we have ways of doing that. Interesting. So we can go opposition agent this turn into opposition agent next turn and stop our opponent connecting with us. But I don't think that's worth doing necessarily. I think we're probably just looking at playing an initiative guy next turn. I don't even know if we can beat this, to be honest. Might have just lost this game on turn 1, to be honest. But we can draw into Helm of Obedience. That wins us the game. So maybe we have to save this Dark Ritual for that line and just try and play out an opposition agent next turn and just take the 5 this turn and the 5 next turn and try and do some chump blocking with opposition agents, which sounds pretty bad. But it's a strategy. So an Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. So we have options. We can play out Dark Ritual into like Battlerager or Passageway Seer to get the initiative for a turn. It gives us a life linker. Is that something we have to do right now? That means we won't be able to play and activate Helm, but I think we have to put something on the board now, otherwise we're going to lose this game. Which means we're probably having to use our Dark Ritual for this. So this gets the initiative back off our opponents. They don't get to trap us immediately, but as soon as they attack us, they get to trap us pretty much, unless we chump block here. So at least gives us an option to chump block and gain a little bit of life. Thins our deck slightly by getting a land into our hand. It's pretty marginal. But it does mean that we can deploy land drops. Okay, so we might have to chump block with this guy and gain 3 life. If they have a removal spell, they'll use it now. Once upon a time. Okay. This looks like one of the builds that sort of came around early on when people were playing the initiative. Okay, Caves of Chaos Adventure. Okay, so they are multiple colours, hence the Mox Diamond. That makes more sense. Now they're ploughing our guy. Sure. So it did gain us 3 life, but not necessarily in the way we wanted it to. It was hoping it would buy us a turn of them not having the initiative. So we're going to take 10 this turn. And then they're going to draw an extra card when they play their Caves of Chaos Adventure. So a little bit on the awkward side for us. Again, we can draw Helm of Obedience, and that gives us a kill quite soon. We'll probably have to play out the Vicious Battlerager for a turn. Actually, is that good enough now? Might not be. Maybe we're supposed to play out the City of Traitors this turn. Last turn, sorry. I guess we didn't know they had a Caves of Chaos Adventure incoming, but... Alright, it's got to be a good one, I think. Dauthi Voidwalker. Well, this doesn't block, so that's a no-no to begin with. So if we play this Vicious Battlerager, we can block 5 damage and take 5 damage. So I think this is fine. I say fine. I think it buys us a turn, is what I mean by fine. Now, a Swords of Plowshares just kills us. Even if we put the counters on this and they plow it afterwards, we're still going to take 10 next turn, so there's no point putting the counters on this, so we should just scry, and see if we can find the Helm of Obedience for next turn. Okay, so this is on the bottom. This is on the bottom. They got plow? Yeah, they got plow. We're dead. Sure. Okay. White Plume Adventurer on turn 1 is very difficult to beat. So what would be nice? Some removal, some pro-white guys, some Nemesis Trap, possibly the Plague Engineers. Now, Karn doesn't feel great here. It's quite a slow card. The opposition agent also doesn't feel incredible to me either. Like, this is worse than like all of their creatures, and the only thing it stops is the first room of the Explore, really, which I don't think is worth doing. So then we're looking at cutting 2 from this now. Like, the Karn is quite slow. I think maybe we're looking at getting rid of the Karn. The Dauthi Voidwalker is good because it can take back the initiatives. We're kind of trying to play an initiative game with a little bit of a guide to stonewall them, and then we can also Nemesis Trap away as Seasoned Dungeoneer. Now, the question is, do we want these Plague Engineers just as a guy that can get in the way and help us keep the initiative? Is that the game we're going for? Maybe it is. Because these will trade with the guys, that's for sure. So maybe it's better to have these than, like, we don't really want all these ley lines either. They do help our combo and give us the ability to just sort of get free wins, but they are just such terrible draws. So we're shaving a ley line. We shave 2 ley lines here. Or is that too many? We shave a Karn. Like the Hymn to Tourach on the play is pretty good. Maybe on the draw we swap things around a little bit. So we have a Leyline and a Plague Engineer. Is that good? I don't think it is, to be. I think we have to mulligan this. Okay, this is a Thoughtseize Dauthi Voidwalker on turn 1. And then if we draw another black source, or we can... Yeah, I think we keep this one, right? We keep this, and we're probably throwing away City of Traitors. This gives us the most options going forward, I think. We draw another black source, get another Dauthi Voidwalker, I think is something I'd like. We also put the Dauthi Voidwalker into play before we Thoughtseize, so we get to possibly steal one of our opponent's things with a Dauthi Voidwalker. Like a Seasoned Dungeoneer would be nice, since that's the scary guy. Okay, basic Swamp, Dark Ritual, Dauthi Voidwalker. Now they could Solitude this in response to the Thoughtseize, but then we'll be getting a lot of cards out of our opponent's hand. Okay, so we got here 2 Once Upon a Time, a Swords to Plowshares, and a Lotus Petal. I think we're taking the Plow here. We could take the Lotus Petal so our opponent can't make a turn 1 threat off of their Once Upon a Times, but then they also would need a white source to kill our guy, but they could probably find a white source with a Once Upon a Time. Because we don't have the second black, I think we just have to take the Plow here. It also gives us the Plow in exile with the Dauthi Voidwalker, so if something goes wrong, we can always Plow their guy. So this time they're going to draw a card, and then they're going to cast Once Upon a Time for free, and then we're going to see what they have. Sure, so there goes one of the Once Upon a Times we know about. A Palace Jailer. That's a pretty good one. So there's an Ancient Tomb and a Lotus Petal. So looking for an additional white source to cast this Palace Jailer. Passageway Seer. That's not really what we wanted. So we can hold this up, or we're going to start attacking. I think we should just start attacking. So our opponent could try and cast the Once Upon a Time using their Lotus Petal as a green source, but that's going to take them further away from having double white unless they have double white. Unless they have a white land in hand. Looks like they're just trying to draw into it. Okay, so they can cast a Palace Jailer and we probably lose the game now. Sure. So we need to find a black source or a mana source of any kind. But our opponent is going to be drawing a lot of cards. Hymn to Tourach. That's not a thing we can cast. Alright. Like our deck has a lot of mana sources between its mana base, Chrome Moxes, and the Dark Rituals. But I think every turn that this goes by without us finding something, we're getting much further behind. Okay, so we can play this out. I've got 5 cards in hand, that's a lot. Okay, so let's play this guy out because he'll be a 3/3, so he'll be able to block the Palace Jailer. Obviously, if they have a removal spell, then we're in trouble, but if they have a removal spell, we're going to lose this game whatever we play, I think. Our opponent is just playing a better initiative deck than us. So this is going to get a counter on it. End of turn. If they have a removal spell, they'll use it now. Okay. I didn't have the removal spell right there and then. So next turn we can attack with it. If they don't have a blocker, other than this guy, then they're either going to lose their Palace Jailer or the Monarch. Now this looks like they're playing a creature, so that's super bad for us. So we don't get to have our 5/5. So what do we do here? That is the question. Not going to be easy, this one. Thoughtseize. Does that do anything? Is the question. I suppose we should fire off the Thoughtseize first and see what our opponent's working with. Ephemerate, Once Upon a Time. Yikes. I guess we take one of the Ephemerates. So blocking is not going to work very well for us here, is it? Now, if we attack with this, they're going to just block and then Ephemerate. They can just Ephemerate the Palace Jailer whenever they want. Yikes. I guess we have to... They get to Ephemerate twice. They get to take all of our creatures here. So I think we just have to Hymn to Tourach them and force the Ephemerate out now on the Palace Jailer. And then try and get the Dauthi Voidwalker in and attacking. Oh, they discarded the Ephemerate and the Once Upon a Time. That was unexpected. Like, we are taking a reasonable chunk of damage here. So if we attack with this, we can get the initiative back if they trade their White Plume. Am I okay with them trading White Plume? They got nothing in hand. They do have the Monarch though. Let's see if they go for the trade. Yeah, they do go for the trade. Okay. So we kind of need our opponent to brick on draws a little bit here. Now they are scrying too, so it's going to be a little bit less likely. But our aim is to play the Dauthi Voidwalker, get back the Monarchy, get back our other Dauthi Voidwalker. Okay, another White Plume off the top. Not necessarily that unexpected, given they just looted, they just scryed. Right, so we're going to take 2 this turn. We also force them down to scry rather than beat us for loads of damage, so that was something, I guess. Right, so you're going to tap their guy. We draw for turn. A Sudden Edict is interesting. So I guess we play this guy out, and then we can hold back this Edict. Now, there is a life cost attached to this, which is very real. So they got this skeleton, so we probably want to get rid of one of their real creatures first, because we don't want them to be able to blink either of these. Okay, so getting rid of their Palace Jailers, that's something they can't blink at least. So yes, we'll lose this mana. So as long as our Dauthi Voidwalker lives, we can get the Monarchy here. We can also use it to put in a Palace Jailer and get the Monarchy that way, but then they can get it right back with a skeleton token. So we got some choices. Our opponent's just drawing a million cards over there as well. Okay, what do we got? Passageway Seer. So this gets us back the initiative. This gets us the Monarchy. I think we're supposed to use our Dauthi Voidwalker to play the Palace Jailer here. So we have choices as to who we exile. I think we're supposed to exile the skeleton token here, because this has menace. So exile this, and also they can never get it back. And then we play out this, which will cost us some life, unfortunately. But we can make a massive lifelinker here. So we are on Forge here, and put the counters on our lifelinky guy. So we get to draw a card here and make our guy bigger. A Dark Ritual. Okay, that could come in handy. Now, Seasoned Dungeoneer could be pretty bad for us. Okay, so there's a Mox Diamond. Okay, so they're just letting us have a turn. This is good news for us. Do you want Trap? I think we trap here. We're on the beatdown now. Maybe we've turned the corner. This isn't very helpful. So we keep our Dauthi Voidwalker back because it's got a source of plowshares built into it. So I think we're just attacking with our Passageway Seer here. Now if we attach with our Passageway Seer though, we can come a little bit unstuck if they attack us, because we don't have that many blockers. But we can block with the Palace Jailer, and then we can Dauthi Voidwalker back the Palace Jailer again. Still going to our opponent's graveyard. I think we are supposed to attack here. So this also gives us a cushion of life and puts our opponent to dead. Okay, Nemesis Trap is excellent. Alright, so I think we are odds on to win this game right now. Get Nemesis Trapped. This gives us another room of the initiative. So we get to draw a card. A Leyline of the Void. Not very exciting. So they can steal back the initiative here if they want to. Sure. So this is going to put them to Throne of the Dead 3, which could certainly do something. What they got here? Seasoned Dungeoneer by the looks of it, or it could be the Palace Jailer. Palace Jailer can get rid of our Passageway Seer here and give them the Monarch back, which is not ideal. There's still some amount of this game to be played. We do get to Throne of the Dead 3 next turn though. So let's petal as well. Okay, so you can have our opponent on a 2-turn clock. All that life we gained was certainly helpful. A Chrome Mox, that's certainly not helpful. Let's attack our opponent with the Dauthi Voidwalker. This will get us the Monarchy as well. This can't be blocked because they don't have anything with Shadow. Oh no. This looks like a hard cast. Solitude. Yep. I think this is going to kill us now, isn't it? We don't get to get anything back with this. So this can block here, and we take 5, 6, 7, 8. Yikes. So I think we are on the draw Helm of Obedience plan now. Yeah, our opponent just had the Monarchy for too many turns to power through their deck. Like, they did hit a lot of bricks to let us back into the game, but their engines are just a little bit stronger. We have a I win button, but they just have better individual cards. Obviously, this Leyline on its own is completely blank and useless. Whereas they didn't really have any cards like that. It's like, oh, a good removal spell, or a little bit of mana to accelerate us out, or creatures with crazy good common play abilities, etc., etc. So I'll be very surprised if we win this game, but we do have a draw that lets us win the game. If they have a Seasoned Dungeoneer, we might be in a lot of trouble here. I think the most damage we can soak up is 3, and then we take 10, possibly 11, 12, 13 to put us to 1, unless they find something good off the Chaos Adventurer. So we're in a bad spot, is what I'm saying. Let's see what this guy exiles for them. They have completed a dungeon as well, haven't they? So they get to play this for free. I think that's what it does. Alright. There's literally no point holding this guy back at this point, because we're just going to die to whatever they have. They're not going to let us get the initiative. Alright. One card to rule them all. Is it Helm? It's not Helm of Obedience. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. So we can bring back... We can tap our Ancient Tomb, which is not great. It does let us go into the Throne of the Dead 3, though. So I think this is okay. Triple black. Let's cast this. Choose any number of type creatures we want. This one and this one. So we need to go 1, 2... Okay, so we get 2 guys back, which takes us into the Throne of the Dead 3, which gets us another creature. Pro-white creature is certainly interesting to me. The Plague Engineer will trade with anything here. The pro-white guy can block here. Or we just get the Passageway Seer, which gives us slightly more life gain, so we can soak up more trample damage. And also sends us back into the thing. I think we get the Passageway Seer here. And we take the initiative again. We go and get ourselves a swamp. Oh, I can't say that I enjoy the initiative as a mechanic personally, but... Alright, so we have a way of surviving the game, potentially, which gives us another chance to draw a card. Now, we might have to put our Passageway Seer underneath the Caves of Chaos Adventurer and try and hope that the Scry is good. Our opponent might just Solitude and kill our guy. Like, because this guy's hexproof, I think it's just better to have that than the Tourach, because we're looking on a 1-turn window. Having a 5/4 Tourach would be good, but I think the lifelink is going to be better, and they're both going to be untargetable. So, okay, so we're losing one of our guys. Probably the first Passageway Seer. Yep, sure. Goodbye with you. We've got a lot of options of things we can play off of our Dauthi Voidwalker if it lives, but we'll see. So we have a 6/6 lifelinker that can get in front of the Palace Jailer, which will gain us 6, put up to 12, and then we take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 because of the Forge. Feels like it might be an issue for us. So if we block this guy, which is the biggest, we still take lethal, I believe. I've done my maths. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, no, so we'll be 1 mana shy. Okay, so what they're going to do is they're going to Swords to Plowshares their own creature here, so that we don't gain any life, and then their damage is lethal. Sure. So yeah, we just got beaten because their initiative deck is way better at playing an initiative game. Maybe we're supposed to just board more heavily for the combo. We don't really have the control pieces to deal with the board. What I'm finding about the initiative in general is if you don't have like early creatures and Force of Will, it's very hard to beat the initiative. Like turn 1 White Plume Adventurer is just so strong. Alright, so that's end of round 3 I think it is, so let's go on the next one. Alright, so we're on the draw for this game. We can make a turn 1 Karn, which is pretty cool. I think we probably keep this one, right? Chrome Mox, Imprint Lotus Petal, Imprint Dark Ritual, 3 mana for this, 2 more for this. Turn 1 Karn's probably just good enough, so I think we just keep this. Volcanic Island. Okay, so against Delver, is turn 1 Karn going to be good enough? That's a different question. We're going to have to try and resolve this turn 1 Karn. Okay, it doesn't matter so much if we don't now. So play this out. So we do get to play this all around a daze as well, which is nice. Triple black from the Dark Ritual, hopefully. Cast this. So this has to get a Force of Will if they want to survive. Okay, so we can either go and get... So let's have a look at our options. So we can go and get ourselves like a Pithing Needle for Wasteland right now, but then we'll lose our Karn. We can plus our Karn on nothing and hope that they don't have a Lightning Bolt and flip their Delver. Or we can get an Ensnaring Bridge. We can get a Coating. We have a lot of options here, and I'm not sure which one is any good. Like if we plus this and they have a Lightning Bolt and this flips, it dies and we get 0 value out of it. If we minus it and this flips, they get to kill it, and it's just gotten us 1 card. I think because we have a backup Karn, we should just go and get ourselves a Pithing Needle here. We don't want to get Wastelanded. Let's go and get this Pithing Needle. Let's play this. Now they could have a daze for this, but it doesn't look like they want to. So if they flip their Delver, which is quite likely, we're going to lose our Karn, but we do have a backup Karn that we can play around daze. I just think I can't afford to play this Karn and get 0 value out of it. Like if they flip their Delver, Lightning Bolt it, and Wasteland us, that's the game. We're done immediately right there. So I think we're right to do that. Okay. So using a Brainstorm in their upkeep to flip the Delver, so they're not getting max value of the Brainstorm. Makes me think they probably didn't have a Lightning Bolt, but sometimes that's just how you have to roll. Doesn't look like they had the Wasteland either, but they might have had one and put it back because we named it. Don't really know. It's going to be a bit difficult for us to cast black spells like Dauthi Voidwalker until we draw another black source. We can get another black source with Karn the Great Creator though. How much time we have to do that, I'm not sure though. Like, these Ancient Tombs are definitely not free. So we can play a Karn around a Daze. Our opponent's got 2 types in their graveyard right now. We can play a Karn around a Daze and take 4. I think we probably do that. And this is most likely going to die anyway, so I think we're going to go and get ourselves an Ensnaring Bridge and try and turtle up for a few turns and see how we do. Now, I usually have 1 Brazen Borrower main deck, so they can answer an Ensnaring Bridge, but they will have to find it, so it should hopefully buy us a number of turns. Short Brainstorm. I have to imagine they can flip the Channeler this turn. That's why I didn't try and plus the Karn. Again, if I play the Karn and get 0 value out of it, it's just awful. Our plan here is to turtle up and hide behind an Ensnaring Bridge until we can draw a Dauthi Voidwalker or a Leyline and try and pop our opponent with the Helm of Obedience. They might intentionally try and keep their Dragon's Rage Channeler as a 1-1 just so they can get in underneath the Ensnaring Bridge. That's certainly a play they could make. Okay, so they're just going to bolt the Karn so they can get damage in on us. It also gives them another Surveil trigger. So bash for 4, that puts us to 10. Our opponent saw a lot of cards in that turn. I think we have to Thoughtseize our opponent here. Okay, so we get rid of the Abrade. That's good. And we know they've got Ponder and Expressive Iteration. So now we can play this out. We can just use black mana from this because we're not playing around a Daze. So we're hiding behind an Ensnaring Bridge. We're protected from Wasteland. We're doing okay. Now they can chip us away for 1. They should be attacking us before casting the Expressive Iteration. Unless they've got like multiple answers in their deck, I think it's better just to get the guaranteed 1 point of damage because they could flip their Dragon's Rage Channeler here. I guess they can just leave the thing on top, maybe, if it is 1. But I doubt they'd want to keep a creature on top, so it's probably better just to poke for 1. A Lightning Bolt, sure. So if they have another Lightning Bolt and we can't empty our hand, we're going to die next turn. Okay, so they're doing this little trick where they can try and surveil their guy in combat after he's already attacked to try and get an extra 2 points of damage. They'll put us to 5. Okay, they did not. Did they succeed? They did not. Okay. So we're going to go to 7 this turn. Ideally, we'd like to draw a land. So we can just play our little Helm of Obedience and a land and be hellbent so we can't get attacked. And then next turn we can draw a little Dauthi Voidwalker or a Leyline and that'd be aces. Right, back to us. What have we got? An Ancient Tomb. So I did say I wanted to draw a land, so here we are. Let's cast this black, and we tap these for black. We're playing around a Daze here. We know they've got rid of the Expressive Iteration and the Brainstorm. Okay. In a pinch, we can mill them for 1 card, but I don't really feel that's somewhere we want to be. Okay, so none of their creatures can attack us. They need 3 lightning bolts to kill us. So I'm not unhappy with the situation we're in. And we can play any card in our deck. So we might be able to, if we draw Karn, we can play Karn, and then we can Karn lock them out of the game. Expressive Iteration. That's a good way of finding something that's going to win you the game. So we know they've got a lightning bolt. We've seen lightning bolt from them, so they can. Sorry, I'm a bit tired. So they can Mystic Sanctuary back a lightning bolt, which is another play they have available to them, or they can just Mystic Sanctuary back the Expressive Iteration, and they can daze their own spells to rebuy the Mystic Sanctuary if they have a daze. So they might be able to thread together enough lightning bolts. We'll see what they put on top. If they put the Expressive Iteration. Okay, they're just putting the Abrade on top because that will blow up our Ensnaring Bridge. Message understood. However, we can Helm of Obedience them and mill them for 1. So let's just check the exact text of this. If 1 or more creature cards are put into graveyard this way, sacrifice Helm of Obedience and put 1 of them onto the play. So if it doesn't find a creature, it doesn't get sacrificed. So we can just mill away the top card of their library. So we will cast this targeting our opponent, where X is 1. There's the Abrade gone again. Not a play you see very often, but it's worked out quite nicely for us there. It's a potentially game-winning line. At least I hope it is. A swamp. We will play this swamp so we can't get attacked, and we will pass the turn. We don't want to try and just mill them out with Helm of Obedience casually, because that's not a winning proposition. We're also in a situation where our opponent can surveil and leave something on top and dare us to mill it, and it could just be a creature and get rid of our Helm. So I think the only time we do mill is when we know the exact top card of our opponent's library, or if we're incredibly desperate. So that what they should do this turn is leave it on top. Okay, they should have left it on top to test us to see what we did, I think. Although if I saw a polluted delta, maybe I'd know they were testing us, and then we'd end up with weird mind games into mind games. I doubt they have a second Mystic Sanctuary in their deck, but we can play the same trick. But now they know the trick, they can wait until they've got brainstorms and things to go around with it. A Mistress Bauble, sure. We've got a decent chunk of time ahead of our opponent on the clock as well, which I'm certainly a fan of. We don't really have a great deal of operations in this. We're just drawing a card, playing a card, hoping for the best. All right, Come on, deck. What are you going to draw for us? Okay, they get their Bauble trigger. There's Urborg doing a lot of work, saving a life total as well. Okay. This is a real card here. We can cast this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we haven't played a basic land yet, so we can get a basic land out of our deck, so we're more likely to draw better things. And then we can play that land. Okay. So their Force of Willingness, pitching a Daze, so that they can not just get slowly ticked down by the initiative. Or get scryed, not scryed, yeah, sorry, it is scryed, not surveil, scryed into the Wincon. So, yikes. Our opponent's just digging and digging for the Brazen Borrower that they must have in their deck. We pretty much lose when that happens. So, let's see which way they stack these triggers. Okay, so looking at the top card of their library first. It's a Ponder, so they're not going to want to shuffle that away. Another threat. So all they're doing is making sure they have more than enough power that if they ever get the Ensnaring Bridge out of play, they can win the game immediately. Like, they already had that, but now they've got it covered, even if I get a blocker off with the Helm of Obedience trigger. I put one card on top of their library, sure. I could mill that one card. Okay, it's a Brainstorm. Let's see where these go. So we have to imagine the only cards they would leave on top at this point are Brazen Borrower or cards that dig them. So they've seen more than 2/3 of their library now. Quite a ridiculous thing to do by turn 7 of a game of Magic the Gathering. Okay, it doesn't look like they have the Brazen Borrower this turn, so they've got to get through those 2 cards on top, but they're going to shuffle them away, I imagine. A Hymn to Tourach. Like, we're not casting the spells we draw, so let's just see if we can hit them with a Hymn. I imagine they don't really care about this. Yeah, sure. Okay, that means if we do draw our win condition, it's much more likely to resolve. Interesting they didn't crack the Flooded Strand there, because if they had a Brazen Borrower, they would have put it in their hand and won the game last turn. Okay, so they're cracking it in the upkeep. That's fine. Okay, we're down to Steam Vents now. Back to us. City of Traitors. Like I said, we have to cast everything we draw. How much mana do we have here? 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we can just mill our opponent out potentially with a Helm of Obedience. Let's work out how many creatures we're looking at here. So 2 Delvers, 3 Delvers. 3 Delvers are gone. There's 2 Channelers, 3 Channelers are gone. How many Murktides? 2? 1 Murktide? Okay, so they got a lot of creatures left in their deck. So milling them doesn't feel like a great proposition right now. A Chrome Mox. We have to play it. We will not imprint anything. We will pass a turn. So this is mill until a creature card or X card. So we can't guarantee the mill on it either, because it will stop as soon as it hits the first creature. What a weird holding pattern we're in. Alright, let's just play this City of Traitors out. Back to our opponent. We've got a wider lead in terms of cards, in terms of time on the clock opened up as well, which is nice. Expressive Iteration. Let's see what they do with these Surveils. Puts Murktide Regent into their graveyard. Okay, what about this next one? Puts Delver's Secrets. Okay, so that's all 4 Delvers and 2 of the Murktides. So they have 1 Dragon's Rage Channeler and 1 Brazen Borrower and 2 Murktide Regent. Okay, so there's another Dragon's Rage Channeler. That's the last Channeler. So they have 2 Murktide Regents and a Brazen Borrower to deal with. Okay. They're going to play the Dragon's Rage Channeler because it lets them look at their library. Petty Theft onto the Ensnaring Bridge. Okay. This feels like a problem for us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Even if we mill them out here, it doesn't matter because the Helm of Obedience are not going to be able to make them draw a card. So I think we are just dead here. Alright, that was a long game that kind of ended up in nothing because their deck is better than ours, so they're eventually going to find all the things they want. Alright, Sudden Edict, we like you. Plague Engineer is good if we have the Graveyard Hate stuff in play. So I don't hate the Plague Engineers. They're probably going to be better than the Battle Ragers here. I don't really want to give our opponent the initiative too much. I don't really like Opposition Agents against Delver as a general rule either. But I think they're still fine. I don't really like Karns against Delver either. And I'd rather have Battle Ragers than Opposition Agents, probably. Like, yeah, you might be able to just get them with the turn 1 fetch lands with Opposition Agents. So maybe I should play to the cheese. I think the way this deck functions, we can't really board out the Karns here. Could trade some of the Karns in for Battle Ragers, because Battle Ragers are harder to be lightning bolted. So maybe on that logic, we should also be keeping these in over Opposition Agents. Do we want the Ensnaring Bridge in our main deck instead of as a Karn target? I think because of the amount of ramp we have, I think it's okay just to leave a Karn board going. But alright, so what does this hand do? This is a turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Opposition Agent. I think we can keep this. Now we have other follow-ups as well. Or we can turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 him. We'll take 3 damage for the pleasure, but it's certainly a thing we can do. Our opponent's mulligan to 6, so Thoughtseizing your mulligan opponent always feels like a good play. Let's see how much damage we can do. Triple Delver. Brainstorm. I guess we take the Brainstorm, and then we let them play a Delver, and then we're playing the Plague Engineer next turn on human, and we get to kill their Delver of Secrets. And then maybe we get to kill some other Delver of Secrets. Well, they can't play Delver of Secrets while we have that in play, but they can obviously Petty Theft it. But that's another turn cycle they have to go through. Alright, City of Traitors. Alright, it's at least traded 1 for 1 here. Now they can bounce it, but if they bounce it, they need to do it at my end step. Okay, they didn't hit anything there. Interesting. Passageway Seer. So we tap this for 2. Would we rather him to Tourach our opponent or play the Passageway Seer? I think we probably just want to play the Passageway Seer here. I think we'll play this and pay 3 life. Now this can play into a daze, but sets our opponent back from petty thefting. If they have a Force of Will, then it's going to make our him to Tourach even better. This also means playing the land off of the ancient before the City of Traitors is going to be better for us as well. So we're in an okay spot. Now they could Lightning Bolt our guy, but now we've given them an additional thing to worry about. Okay. Are they going to Lightning Bolt this guy instead? Nope. Okay. They didn't have a Lightning Bolt. Okay, so they've got a second land. Now they're in a situation of what do they try and Brazen Borrower here. Like they can end a turn, hit the Plague Engineer, and then play out 2 Delvers, but then I can just replay the Plague Engineer. So our opponent is not in a great position, in my opinion. Okay, we just try and end this game. Do you have a Lightning Bolt? This is the last opportunity you're going to have to Lightning Bolt this guy. Okay, that's nice. And Agadeem's Awakening. I don't really want to play that just yet. Do I want to play this City of Traitors? I'm playing out the Him to Tourach this turn, which I think I want to. I think we just play out the Agadeem's Awakening tapped. Or do we hold it back for the purposes of maybe trying to do the actual casting on it here? We definitely want to play something before combat, I think. In terms of land. So how much do we need for this? We need 4 mana to pump into this. So we need 7 mana total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's a bit of a pipe dream. I think we should just attack first now. Alright. Attack with all creatures. Let's see what you got for us. So the triple Delver hand is very good against the Leyline hand here. Right, so what we got here? Petty Theft. Targeting our Warlock. Our Passageway Seer. Sure. Our opponent's got 4 cards in hand, and we know 2 of them. So we can either redeploy the Seer, or we can deploy a Opposition Agent, or we can mess with our opponent's hand with a Him to Tourach. I would quite like to play the Passageway Seer around a daze. So I think I'm just going to play the Swamp and then Him to Tourach our opponent. If you Force of Will, we get 2 cards anyway. Okay, so what do they discard? Delver of Secrets and Delver of Secrets. Sure, I don't hate that. And we're still going up the old chain with our thing. So if they have a land, they can deploy the Brazen Borrower at the end of my next turn and then attack. The Ponder means they can't do that. They can't cast Dragon's Rage Channelers or Delver of Secrets right now. Okay, a Wasteland. So they can take out our Agadeem if they want to, but I think they want to keep this to cast a Brazen Borrower down the line. Okay. Nope. Okay. Dragon's Rage Channeler. This is a mistake because it's going to die immediately. Oh no, this is 3/3, isn't it? Okay, no. That makes sense. That makes sense. So now we get to trap them, hit them for 5. Let's see what we draw. Karn the Great Creator. Does that do anything that I'm interested in here? I think we can attack with our Plague Engineer. I don't think they'll block here. They are going to block. Interesting. That's just going to let us keep ticking up the initiative. So if we play this Passageway Seer into a daze, that's going to feel really bad. We can play this Agadeem's Awakening out, and we can pay the 3 life and get an Opposition Agent into play. And I think we do it in our opponent's upkeep. I think we need to try and get our opponent. Okay, sure. We're quite far ahead here. We get to draw a card and then the turn, and then we can cast Passageway Seer around a daze. Expressive Iteration is what it looks like our opponent's casting here, which is a good one. Oh, Murktide Regent. That's also a good one. Okay. Drawing one of those Sudden Edicts would be rather nice about now. Ancient 2. Not very exciting. A Passageway Seer. Kind of exciting. Our opponent's got 1 card in hand, so we can play this Passageway Seer around a daze. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. If they attack with a Murktide to get the initiative back, we can then basically kill them, right? We're going to be in a good spot. Because we're going to get thrown into dead 3. But I'd rather Plague Engineer, Dauthi Voidwalker, or Vicious Battlerager. If we get the Battlerager, that means next turn we can go into the Forge and then trap them. So I think we're probably just on the Battlerager here. It's also going to come in a lot larger. So let's go back into the dungeon, get this silly card. We're not attacking here. Our Passageway Seer is going to become a 3/3. They can't attack with the Murktide without being dead. And if they don't attack with the Murktide, then they're probably going to be dead because they can't block this. And it's going to be bigger. And then I get to go into the trap room and deal them 5. So if they block this, they take 5 because it's an ability. If they don't block it, they're going to take 6. So they're going to have to block here, and then they take 6 here, and then the trap kills them when I play the Passageway Seer. So they need to have a counter spell for our Passageway Seer and probably a Lightning Bolt. I don't think they can do both of those things. They should probably just scoop it up and go to game 3 and save their clock. Okay, so they conceded. So we're going to game 3. Don't want to change anything here. I don't think so. I think we're A-OK. We just submit and maybe try and play a Leyline game and hope their opponent doesn't have a triple Delver hand. A Leyline stops all of their threats apart from the Borrower and the Delver. Now, they can eventually get rid of your Leyline, but the amount of turns it buys you is very strong. This is okay. I think we can keep this. Start the Leyline in play. If we draw some mana, we can try and combo them off. We have a Plague Engineer to shut down Delvers. And we have Agadeem's Awakening here, which can go under a Chrome Mox if needs be. But ideally, we're looking at trying to draw something like a Dark Ritual maybe this turn. A Vicious Battlerager. I think we are just playing the Agadeem's Awakening tapped because we're probably going to have to play it tapped at some point. Now, we can come a Cropper if they have a Wasteland here. But this is me trying to save 3 life rather than the turns. So let's see what happens. I think Wasteland on this is pretty annoying for us when it could have just gone under a Chrome Mox instead. But because we don't actually have that many lands in hand, I think it was important to try and get this down and save the 3 life. Okay, Mystic Sanctuary, not a Wasteland. So we can cast the Plague Engineer this turn. Now, our opponent might have a counter spell for that. An Ancient Tomb would be an excellent draw here, because that means we can play around days and it would have to be Force of Will in their hand. Okay, so I think we Chrome Mox ourselves here. Put this Agadeem's Awakening underneath it. Play this out. I think this is so strong now, we have to play into the days. If it resolves, then I think we're well on our way to winning the game. Okay, so we get to strip out both of those Delvers. We've got a thing that needs answering. We're ahead on board in quite a big way. Our opponent's 2 of our opponent's 4 best threats are gone. So I like the situation we're in. Let's pop out their exile zone just so we can see what they've gone through in case that becomes relevant. And we're not that far off of just casting a Helm of Obedience and winning. Like an Ancient Tomb, we can just play this out and crack it. A Braid on our guy. Sure. We've got another Delver to follow up with. They have another triple Delver hand, 2 games in a row. Incredible. This could just be a DRC to start filtering. No, they did have 2 triple Delver hands, 2 games in a row. Cool. But because we killed the first batch of them, I'm pretty happy about it. Okay, Ancient Tomb. So this turn, we can cast this. 1, 2, 3, 4. If this resolves, we win the game. If it doesn't, we win the game next turn. Right. Let's bring our opponent for 1. Done. Cool. We got the match. So game 1 was like a really weird, long sort of slog. And game 2 and 3 were sideboard cards doing a reasonable amount of work in terms of Plague Engineers, really. So, yeah, relatively happy with that. Normally when I play Mono Black, I have more Sudden Edicts, but this is just the list I was given, so here we are. All right, so we are 2 and 2 going to the final round to see if we can get our money back. We're on the draw. We lost a die roll, but we have turn 1 him to Tourach into turn 2 Battlerager, or turn 1 Dauthi Voidwalker into turn 2 Battlerager, so this seems like a reasonable hand to keep. Leyline in the Void. Okay. Interesting. Our opponent may be on a very similar deck to us here. It could even be on the exact same deck. Who knows? Another Mox. Looks like all the same cards we're playing. A Dauthi Voidwalker. Sure. So our opponent's got 1 card in hand here. So I think we are on the Chrome Mox, Imprint, Dauthi Voidwalker. I don't think we need to him to Tourach this turn. I think we're better off just getting a Dauthi Voidwalker in play. And then we can him to Tourach and then get the Dauthi Voidwalker out of our opponent's hand. Our opponent didn't have a land in their opener, which is interesting. So these can actually block each other, which is an interesting thing that doesn't actually come up much. So I'm going to him to Tourach my opponent this turn and see what they draw. See what they have. If they discard a Helm of Obedience, we can just kill on this turn. A Helm of Obedience, cool. And we'll play this. Wait, no, hold on. If we crack this to get the Helm of Obedience, we lose our Dauthi Voidwalker, which is the thing that gives us the ability to do that. All right, I think we are just holding back here. It's so weird to have a Dauthi Voidwalker that can block. What a world. Okay, City of Traitors. So our opponent can cast the Helm of Obedience if they draw one. Okay, so just attacking, that's fine. What are we doing with our turn? Let's see. An Agadeem's Awakening. Does that change anything? Is it worth the 3 life? No. We can Okay, so what we can do is we can get the Helm of Obedience with this. Let me just say, this is sacrifice, isn't it? Yes, so we can get the Helm of Obedience with this, but this will go into our exile because of the Dauthi Voidwalker and the Leyline. So we can't get our Dauthi Voidwalker back. Would we like to pay 3 life for a Vicious Battlerager or not? Like, the Vicious Battlerager should be the faster clock here. I think we just play the City of Traitors. Like, what else are we going to use our mana for, right? Okay, so swamp. And I guess we pass the turn because now we can hold the initiative with the Dauthi Voidwalker, and we can just speedrun through this because we've got another Battle Rager. Now our opponent can just draw a Helm of Obedience and kill us, which is annoying, but blocking with Dauthi Voidwalker. What time to be alive? Alright, so let's just forge onto this guy. Attacks, get 3 damage in. Our opponent can have an opposition agent, but we're about to play a guy anyway, so it doesn't really matter. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play this. Go down the trap side. This puts our opponent to 12. And the next time we hit for 3, 4. So not huge amounts of damage, but it's something. We're just trying to fade our opponent having a Helm of Obedience and mana to activate it. Right. We're going down the archive, drawing ourselves a card. Karn the Great Creator is very good. That stops us from dying to our opponent's Helm of Obedience. Okay, our opponent's conceding because we're going to attack with one guy, leave one guy back on blocks, and we're going to go upstairs this turn to get rid of a Chrome Mox. And next turn we can Mycosynth Lattice our opponent out of the game, and we're protected from Helm of Obedience as a draw. Excellent, winning the mirror. I'll take it. Now the question is, what on earth am I doing in the mirror? Like, a removal spell seems good. Karn seems very good. I don't actually hate Tourach here, just because I want to be able to mess with our opponent's hand. We saw the Passageway Seer get put under a thing from our opponent. These opposition agents don't really have text other than being flash guys. So we'll take these in, and it's a question of, do we want the Tourachs or do we want the opposition agents? I think opposition agent is like marginally better, just in case our opponent is on a different build with Urza Saga. Also the fact that it's a flash guy that we can play off of a Dark Ritual on turn 1 to try and steal the initiative and do things that way. So I think this is slightly better. But I think we're just keeping the deck more or less the same. Alright, we'll give it a whirl like this. This hand doesn't really achieve very much. It's very slow. I think we can mulligan and do better. Okay, it's got Discard, it's got Dauthi Voidwalker, it's got these Chrome Moxes. We can keep these, and we're probably going to get rid of... Wait a second. So if we go this into here, this into here, we cast Dauthi Voidwalker on turn 1, and then if we draw an Ancient Tomb on turn 2, we cast Helm of Obedience. But we do need to get rid of a card. I think we have to get rid of the Chrome Mox, just because it's card disadvantage here. Leyline of the Void. Sure. So what we want to be doing here is Thoughtseizing our opponent's Helm of Obedience away. Depending on how much mana our opponent deploys on turn 1, depends on if we need to Thoughtseize on turn 1 or we can just play out our own Dauthi Voidwalker. Now they could Thoughtseize us here. Okay, so they've got 2 mana. Dark Ritual. Okay, so this could just be a Helm of Obedience right away. It is a Helm of Obedience right away. Okay. That is the gauntlet well and truly thrown down. We kind of needed to have a... Oh, how much mana can we produce here? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can make Dauthi Voidwalker and Thoughtseize. We can't really do much about the rest of our opponent's hand here. Okay, I think we're just dead here. So we're going to play this, pay 3 life. We're going to Thoughtseize our opponent just so we can see if they brought in anything unusual. Okay, an opposition agent, sure. That's not that unusual. And then we're just going to die, I think. Sure. I don't know what they would wait for. I think they're just going to, yeah, they're just doing it now. So we just concede. Sure. All right. So now it's our turn to be on the play. So these Thoughtseize and things should be better. I guess we just resubmit and hope to draw well. Our opponent had the turn 1 kill pretty much. So yes. So what we got here? We don't have... So what is it? Let me have a think. So this is 3 mana on turn 1. So this is Dauthi Voidwalker on turn 1. Passageway Seer or Passageway Seer on turn 2. I think we can do better than this. I think we want to have a Thoughtseize or something. Okay, so this is Thoughtseize on turn 1. And then 1, 2, 3. And then Vicious Battlerager on turn 3. I think this is fine. And we probably... I think we're supposed to get rid of the Urborg here. Because you don't want to help fix our opponent's mana. Now, if we draw any sort of accelerant, of which there's quite a few in our deck, then we can make a turn 2 Battlerager. I think having the ability to just Thoughtseize our opponent on turn 1 is where we want to be. Alright, let's analyse our opponent's hand. So they have Agadeem's Awakening, Chrome Mox into Dauthi Voidwalker on turn 1. Or they have Agadeem's Awakening, Dark Ritual, Chrome Mox, Vicious Battlerager on turn 1. Or they can hold up for this Sudden Edict. If we get rid of the Agadeem's Awakening, then our opponent can only make a Dauthi Voidwalker on turn 1, which is still pretty good. If you get rid of the Dark Ritual, our opponent can make a Dauthi Voidwalker, and then they're sort of drawing live for any soul lands or Dark Rituals. If we take the Agadeem's Awakening, our opponent only has Dark Ritual here. I think we're supposed to take the Agadeem's Awakening. This requires them to draw more mana sources. I think I like this. Maybe I'll regret that. I don't know. But I think that makes sense, right? Because they have to 2-for-1 themselves to get the Chrome Mox into play, and then they can Dark Ritual, and if they don't have a 1-drop, then they've basically spent 3 cards just to make a Dauthi Voidwalker, and then we're quite far ahead in terms of resources, and they're not threatening an immediate combo, so maybe we can just grind them out with this. I imagine they might put the removal spell under here, or the Battle Rager. Probably the Battle Rager, actually, considering I just stripped them their land off of them. Vicious Battlerager, yeah, sure. So there's Dark Ritual and the Battle Rager gone. So this is just going to be a Dauthi Voidwalker, unless they drew a Thoughtseize as well, and that'd be real good. They did not draw a Thoughtseize. Okay, what do we draw? A Chrome Mox. So we can go Chrome Mox, so we can go land, Chrome Mox, and have nothing. Or we can just play this tapped. And then next turn we can deploy our Chrome Moxes. So if we draw a land, we can make a Battle Rager. If we draw a Soul Land, we can do some stuff too. We're in an okay spot. Ugh, that's not one of the good draws. That's one of the few draws that doesn't do anything. Like any black card, and we get a Battle Rager. Weird game. Mirrors can be weird, especially when you're playing sort of fringy decks like this. Okay, so our opponent's got another mana source, and they have the Sudden Edict ready for the first creature we play. An Urborg. Okay. I don't really want to play out this Battle Rager just to get it edicted, though. Because then our opponent just gets the initiative on the next turn, and they get a land, so they kind of help themselves out. We're in a real weird spot here. I think we have to play out our Urborg, which is awkward. If we play out the Rager, our opponent can get the initiative back, fix their mana by getting another black land if they need it, so they can actually cast a 4-drop next turn. And then they Sudden Edict our guy away. I don't think we can play the Rager. But if we play the Rager this turn, then we play the Rager next turn. Yeah, we're in a real pickle here, because we can't play Rager into Rager because we need one for the Chrome Mox. I think we just have to pass and maybe use these to fuel like a Karn. So if we get Karn plus on the Chrome Mox, that's probably quite a good spot for it. Yeah, I think we're going to lose this one, actually. Weirdly. I can replay that Thoughtseize decision in my head a few times. Oh, they got to play. It's an opposition agent. No, they're playing a 4-drop. Okay, this is going to be super bad for us. Passageway Seer. Okay, so they've already just snapped the initiative off there. Okay. So now we actually have a turn we can play out the Battle Rager, and they have to spend mana on their turn to kill it. And this stops them from getting tokens for a turn. I think we're just going to lose this game, though. I Thoughtseize. So our opponent's got a Sudden Edict. So I think we play out one of our Chrome Moxes. We've drawn very poorly this game, to be fair. So if we put a Battle Rager under it, I don't think we can cast a Thoughtseize this game, truth be told. I think we're just casting this. It's not great, but it stops our opponent putting counters on this turn. And we can play out a land. Ready for next turn. So they're going to bash us up this turn. Well, I guess I can block this one, but they're probably going to Sudden Edict us first, since we know they have a Sudden Edict in hand anyway. Yeah, sure. So we sacrifice anything we can. So they bash us up for 6 this turn, and that puts us lethal to the Voidwalker next turn. They're thinking about playing our Battle Rager off of there. Right, they should just be attacking for 6 here. And then next turn, what do I need here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 mana, so I can't even deploy 2 things. Just drawing 3 Chrome Moxes just completely cost us this game, I think. A Leyline in the Void, that doesn't do anything. We can forge our guy, but we're just dead to this. No, we're just dead. Sure. Alright, so we went 2 and 3. Let's have a look at the deck. So this deck is interesting to me. It's basically a lot like sort of these mono black decks have been for a while, where if you run hot, they are very, very good, but you have the possibility to draw dead a lot of the time because you don't have any filtering, and you have a lot of cards that don't really do anything, and you have loads of cards that don't impact the board. So if you're like in a top deck situation, you've got like half your deck here doesn't impact the board at all, and also you've got these cards as well. So all of these cards here don't impact the game necessarily. Like if you've had your first turn with your Chrome Moxes and stuff, and you played your guys out and done your bits and pieces, and then you're sat doing these things, Helm of Obedience requires Leyline, Leyline requires Helm. Sometimes Leyline does stuff on its own, which is nice. In those matchups, it's great. But in matchups where it doesn't, then it's real bad. So you have all of these cards that don't impact the board necessarily. So once you've done your little first spurt of something, if your opponent can answer it or whatever, or steal the initiative off you, you're kind of in a bit of a bind, I reckon. And also, Dauthi Voidwalker, if you're behind, this card isn't going to be getting you back into the game necessarily. Yes, it can swing through and go and get you the initiative or the monarchy or whatever, but it can't block. And if they've already got that sort of stuff up and running, then they're just going to be able to swing and get it back. So it's kind of awkward, to be honest. And I didn't think that the initiative was very good in this deck. Now, that's not to say it's wrong. Like, certainly being able to power one of these out super early is good. But a lot of the time, I felt like I'd have rather... Like, in that last game, playing the initiative was bad. Like, you can often be in situations where playing the initiative isn't where you want to be. But if these are something like Shouldered, you'd always want to slam a Shouldered because it's always just going to be decent. And it's going to give you like a nice life buffer, and it's going to be harder for your opponents to remove. And if we had some removal in this deck, like some Sudden Edict's main deck instead, perhaps, I think that would be better. Rotting Regisaur is also an interesting one because it's bigger than all the initiative creatures. So the old versions of this would have Rotting Regisaur in. And if you put a Rotting Regisaur into play super early on, a White Plume Adventurer is either chump blocking that or letting you steal the initiative and smash them for like 7. So I'm not sure that adding these cards makes the deck better than the previous iterations of the deck. That's kind of where I am with this. Like, we're having to run these City of Traitors instead of Urza Sagas, which the other builds had, which like the Urza Saga just gives you guys to do stuff with. And because we're not drawing loads of cards and things, we need each card that we have, because we're wasting a load of cards on like mana acceleration and stuff, and like halves of a combo that don't necessarily do anything on their own, we need each card that we draw to actually have more of an impact. Now, if we have some Urza Sagas in there doing stuff, you know, that's going to have a pretty big impact. Like, Urza Saga is, these days, one of the best cards in Legacy, to be honest. So having that powerful thing instead of the City of Traitors, so we're not trying to make all of these 4-drops here. We can cut these for, you know, things that are going to help us sort of stay alive in the game and keep us going instead of just ramping into these. Now, if we had the 3-4 initiative guy, maybe that's different, because the 3-4 initiative guy is very hard for a lot of decks to kill, but he's not in Magic Online yet. I think it's 3 and a black for a 3-4, and when stuff dies, it then gets exiled, and then I think if your opponent plays cards with the same name or something as the things that are exiled, they take damage or something like that. It does some other additional effect. But it's kind of like a little bit of a graveyard hoser in a way, which is quite nice. And, you know, this deck likes graveyard hosers. It doesn't combo with Helm of Obedience the way it's worded, though. Because they go to the graveyard, then the thing happens. It's not a replacement effect. But they're just much better creatures than a 1-5 or this 2-2 for 4. So I think the quality of these initiative creatures isn't good enough to justify their inclusion in the deck. And playing City of Traitors to accommodate them is a lot worse than playing as a Saga. Now, if you run well with this deck, it certainly has the ability to smash through leagues. Like, if you were to play like 10 leagues with this deck, I'd be very surprised if you didn't get a 5-0 with it, just because, you know, eventually things are going to line up in the right way for you. And what this deck is doing is relatively powerful. You're ramping out important spells that can kind of crush what your opponent's doing. So I like that, but I feel you're a worse initiative decks than the initiative decks, and you're worse at just sort of playing through the game than the previous versions of this deck were, in my opinion. So I don't know this is a good place to include the initiative, but we've played some initiative cards for the first time, and I can't be sad to see initiative cards lose, because I'm not particularly a fan of mechanics designed for a different game, Commander, to be doing so much in Legacy. But there we go. Anything else to say about the main deck here? Not really. I think it's, you know, it's got a game plan that it's trying to execute. I think that's fine. Like, some of the pieces don't feel very good. Like, Opposition Agent, a lot of the time, doesn't feel very strong to me. Like, it's very good against some of these combo-y matchups where you can just smash it down. Oh, look, Doomsday and Wishful Talisman and stuff like that. They're not able to function. So that's good. But I'm not really convinced that this is the best direction for Mono Black right now. That being said, we had some interesting stuff from the sideboard. I think the Nemesis Trap is certainly something that black players should be looking at. It's a pretty cost-efficient removal spell that also steals the initiative off your opponent. So I think that's that's quite a good tool. And maybe decks like Pox that are quite weak to the initiative can be looking at things like that. Although the only problem with that is that Pox is clearing the board all the time. So you kind of have to pick your spot to Nemesis Trap your opponent when they're attacking to get your guy, and then you can start Poxing away. So it's a bit of an interesting one there. But I might fiddle around with some more Nemesis Trap. Is it better than Gloom in a Dark Ritual deck is the question. I'm not entirely sure. I think Gloom in a deck with Dark Ritual is very strong. I don't think it's a card that really should see play in Legacy, and if it does see play in Legacy, I think something's gone a little bit wrong personally. But I might try out some Glooms and some Nemesis Traps in other black decks. I really like the Monoblack deck shell. I'm not actually a massive fan of Karn. I think in the format right now, everything is so aggressive that playing these 4-drops that don't necessarily impact the board immediately is asking for trouble. On the other hand, Karn is very good against a specific subset of decks, namely 8-cast, Painter, and like Stormy type decks. That's pretty good. So this does shut down your opponent's like initiative cards, the initiative players' mana sources, because they usually have some sort of mana rot in terms of Mox Diamonds, as we saw earlier, or Chrome Moxes, and even Lotus Petals. So it can shut those down. But the problem is they've already made their threat usually by the time, because you can't reliably cast this Karn on turn 1. So they're probably going to have a threat in place. If you then spend a load of resources to make a Karn, they're just going to turn their guy sideways and kill your Karn. You go, oh, okay, so I haven't really achieved anything there. So I'm not convinced that Karn is great in those sorts of matchups. I think it is more just there for the Painter and, like, I guess Helm of Obedience mirrors and things like that of the world. All right, any more thoughts on this deck from me? Not really. I don't think I would play this deck again like this. I understand it's worth trying the initiative and slotting it into various places, but these cards are intrinsically weak for 4 mana, I think. Like, the initiative is fine. If you just need more cards that have the initiative written on them, you should be playing these. But I think as cards on their own, they're not good enough. Not for Legacy, anyway. They're obviously too good for Pauper or whatever it was they got banned in. It was this one, wasn't it? It was banned in Pauper, I think. Anyway, so I don't think these are good enough to build a game plan around. If you're playing like black-white initiative, so you just want more initiative guys and also things that pitch to grief and stuff like that, then yes, you run these alongside what you're doing. But again, we should be waiting for the 4-mana 3/4 to get put onto Magic Online before looking at these. Maybe that changes things a little bit. I don't know, but I just felt like I'd rather have Shouldered and some interaction or something in this deck instead of these for the most part. They never really ran away with the game apart from the game that we were probably already winning, where anything we dropped there would have done the same job. I just don't think these are as good. Like, the power of White Plume Adventurer is that it's basically a 3-mana 5/5 Vigilance guy, right? So it outclasses these guys immediately. And the untap on it is absolutely savage. So the quality of the white initiative cards is really good. Obviously, the other one makes your guy unblockable, so you can always get the initiative back and just hit the final points of damage through. So those two cards are so much better than these ones. I don't think it's worth playing these in a deck like this. All right, I think I've made my point clear. I also don't think I played very well in the first match against the Painter deck. Like, I think I'm supposed to let the Grindstone hit us, let the Pyroblast blow up our Grindstone, let the Pyroblast go into the graveyard, and then try and use the Pyroblast off our Dauthi Voidwalker to blow up their Painted Servant in response to make sure that we don't get milled out, rather than trying to Grindstone them first, seeing if we hit a Pyroblast that way, because we had a guaranteed Pyroblast. So, I don't know. I think I misplayed that one a little bit. And maybe, you know, in hindsight, maybe I should have put the Thoughtseize under and then played the Leyline the Void out on turn 1 instead. Do it that way around. Maybe that would have been better. But, yeah, I can think about those decisions. There's definitely some plays I could have made a little bit differently. All right. That's us done for today. I hope you enjoyed the content and my first attempt at playing some sort of initiative creatures. Didn't go very well, but there we go. Can't win them all. All right, thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. It all helps. All right, goodbye.